Hi and welcome to Thete Gaming, and what we're going to have a look at is Dragonflight talents again for the Retribution Paladin, but not so much for Dragonflight, but for the pre-patch which is coming at the next reset. Now, what I will say from the start, and this will always be the case, is the best place to go for the most up-to-date information, and you will need to do this because things are going to keep changing, is the Hammer of Wrath Discord, which is the home for paladins of all specs, but it was started by Retribution Paladins, and indeed it is the font of all wisdom for Rets. You know, if you get information from any other source, either they have got their information from the Hammer of Wrath Discord, or they are wrong. It's that simple. So let's take a look at what we've got. The first thing that will happen when you load in, by the way, it'll give you a load of nonsense. It'll have arrows down here saying put your profession things in your profession tabs. But once you've got past all that, here's the talents. Now, I haven't set this talent system up. This is the starter build. It gives you a starter build because the talents to begin with could be quite overwhelming. So what Blizzard have done, they've done this for every class and for every spec. They've said, look, here's what we think you could go with, and this will work for you, and this will be fine. That's okay, not a problem. We're deleting these because we're not going to go with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down each one, get rid of that nonsense, because that's not even going to work, and we'll discuss what we may or may not take. So starting with the class tree, first of all, there isn't really a lot of choice. In fact, when you get to level 70, there's not a great deal of choice either, but even at level 60, not a lot. There is some though. So lay on hands. It's even trying to tell me what to take. Don't you tell me what to take. I'm not taking that. Right, first of all, let's discuss this. So lay on hands is always useful. Blessing of wisdom, blessing I wish we had. Blessing of freedom is universally very useful, but it's not going to be as useful as in Shadowlands because you're not going to get a speed boost with it. So do be aware of that. If you've been using it for a bit of a speed boost, that's not there. Just let's look at what you'd have to take. So you didn't have to take either of those for now, although it's sensible to take one of them. You will have to take this. We don't want the starter build. Go away. All right, stop pointing at me now. Obviously, we don't really want this in most cases, Fist of Justice, but it is the only way to get down to our throughput talents, which is what we do want. We are going to want to take this for our speed boost. Otherwise, we get no speed boost, and also we wouldn't get Avenging Wrath in a moment. Devotion Aura, Concentration Aura, forget about it. Your Retribution Aura is so essential now. It's not so much that it just gives you the wings when someone dies now. It's, you know, when people take damage, you get a Seraphim effect. It's now too awesome. If anyone even tries to tell you to switch to Devotion Aura, you need to just stare at them good and hard until they regain their senses. So we're not really taking that. That's not happening. Now, at this point, of course, we're going to take Greater Judgment. That is a damage boost. That's fairly obvious. Now we need to take two more. At this point, and remember, you know, think about the situation. We didn't have to take Blessing of Freedom, for example. Lay on Hands is always a good one to have. Blessing of Freedom isn't always. If you know you're on a raid fight where you're not going to have any movement impairing abilities, no need to take it. I just happen to think as a standard one, it's good to have because, you know, we've been so used to having it. Now, at this point, if you're thinking about raids, you're probably not going to need either of those, and you're probably not even going to need Cleanse Toxins. So you could even just go with the Cavalier there. That's a fairly useful one to take. And then you may as well go for the one that extends the duration of Divine Steed. This is purely for raiding. Now, if you're going to be doing it in any scenario where, like in Mythic Plus Dungeons, where Blinding Light could be useful and where Cleanse Toxins useful, then you take those two. And you don't worry about the second charge of this or that. Or maybe you still take the second charge anyway. You know, just think about what you're going to need. Don't take any dead talents to you. The idea of the new talent system is that you can change it. You can save them as a set and you can change it for different scenarios. So for this dungeon, if there's absolutely zero need for Blessing of Freedom, you don't need to take it. So try and adapt it. But I'm just thinking for a standard raid, we're not going to need Blinding Light or Repentance. We're not going to need Cleanse Toxin, so we forget about that. So now we've unlocked this bit. Of course, we're going to take Avenging Wrath. So at the moment, we're just looking at what we're definitely going to take. We're going to take Rebuke. Again, it's not always necessary, but in order to get down to here, which we absolutely want, it's either that or Turn Evil. You're going to Turn Evil? You're not going to use Turn Evil, are you? Don't be silly. So then, Seal of Reprisal. Of course, it's a damage ability. Why wouldn't we want that? Again, let's go down to the damage abilities here. Which one should we have? Consecration one, why not? Of course, why not? Now, we need 7 more before we can get further down, so let's have a look here. Blessing of Sacrifice, again, useful, but also now it becomes a DPS boost of sorts, a really weird one. But then this is like when we got Shield of Vengeance back in the day, which we obviously still have. It's like, yeah, oh dear. It's a bit degenerate to my mind, but it is what you will take. Other thing, of course, you'll want Critical Strike. Why not? We're not bothered about the armor, but the Critical Strike is useful. Just because we're picking around for things. I mean, Blessing of Protection, realistically, there's maybe the odd fight where you think, okay, I'll take that. In which case, take that. And then you might want to take a second point to give it a 60-second cooldown. But again, that depends in the boss fight. Are you going to need it every 4 minutes? If not, don't. So think about what you're taking it for. But if you don't need that, don't take it. It's a waste. You might want to take the healing ones. And, you know, these both heal. You could take both of these. You need to take another one there anyway. And, of course, you're going to take Unbreakable Spirit. Cooldown on Divine Shield, Divine Protection, if you take that. And Lay on Hands. So then down here. Now, this again, thinking for level 60. There is a choice now of where you go. What I will say is that you may have noticed at the start in the starter build, if we're thinking about which one of these capstones we go to, Sanctified Wrath and Seraphim. Now, Seraphim, not as useful because we're going to be getting regular Seraphims from our Retribution Aura, which makes this one less useful. So you think, okay, Sanctified Wrath. Sanctified Wrath sounds quite nice. The problem with it is it doesn't work with Crusade. Things are basically broken. Things are not working. Now, if it works with Crusade, then that's fine. It doesn't sound like if you look at the spell data, it doesn't sound like it is ever intended to extend the duration of Crusade, but even the additional benefit isn't really working at the moment, as far as I can tell. So, Sanctified Wrath for now, unless they fix it, probably not. So it becomes really an issue of which one of these do you want to go down. Do you want to go down to the Of Dusk and Dawn, which is very nice, or do you want to go down to the Zealot's Paragon? So, you know, if we think down this side, I think a lot of people are going to do that. Of Dusk and Dawn, Seal of Order, why wouldn't you? Because this is where you're in the Dawn, you get 10% increased damage. So that's really useful as well. And then at this point, we've got 2 more abilities. You may take Divine Purpose. You may just want to take 2 of these. During Avenging Wrath, Mastery is increased by 4%. You get it up to 8%. But Divine Purpose is potentially worth more than one of those. For AoE purposes, the Consecration damage, but then Consecration's not worth very much. So an extra 10% damage on it. You might have sometimes you may have a double dose of Consecration, of course, because of this, the Incandescence. But by and large, I'd probably be thinking Divine Purpose for now. And you could take that. You may find this, again, Sims, and again, wait to see. The day before, when the pre-patch goes live, just check out the Hammer of Wrath. There'll probably be some suggestion there. So that's where we are for the class tree. The choices are, to a certain extent, down each of these sides. Largely, which one do you prefer? But, you know, Of Dusk and Dawn is quite powerful. When you're at level 70, you'll get both. That's not a problem. When you're at level 70, I will just point out, level 70, if you think about Divine Purpose being a capstone, it's not really, but if you think about it as being a capstone, You won't be able to get these, this, and this. So it's likely to be you're choosing between Divine Purpose and Sanctified Wrath at level 70. You depending on how they end up fixing Sanctified Wrath, you probably do without Divine Purpose. But we will just wait and see, because at the moment, as I say, it's not even working. But for level 60, this one will do you in most circumstances. There's more pressure on the points for Mythic Plus dungeons where Cleanse Toxins may be useful, Blinding Light may be useful, Blessing of Protection may be of niche use and at times to protect your healer. So you may have more pressure there and you may have to think about things there. But that's what I would say for a standard raid one. Onto the Retribution tree, and of course we're going to take that, and of course we're going to take both of these. Out of these two, certainly going to take one. I prefer the double charge of Crusader Strike to 1 second reduction on Judgment. This one's really useful as well. I'm not so bothered about these. Again, you're going to take Empyrean Power. You're going to take, I mean, the damage boost is Shield of Vengeance. We have now got the option of Divine Protection. Think about what you may need. I mean, at the moment, there's a bit of concern that Divine Protection is maybe too weak, but the standard is Shield. We're used to using Shield of Vengeance at the moment, and it is a damage boost. So if we're thinking purely in terms of damage, we take that. In certain circumstances, well, I mean, obviously it absorbs damage as well, depending on what you're going to use Divine Protection for. You may find Shield of Vengeance does just as well. Obviously, we're going to take the Blade of Wrath there. Down here, of course, we're going to increase the damage of Judgment. Now, at this point, I'll leave that for now. I'm just going to go along. We want Wake of Ashes. Of course, we do. Yes, Art of War causes Blade of Justice to cast Consecration. Yeah, so this is going to be very much about consecration. Consecration on your consecration on your consecration. Yeah. In terms of ones that are definitely going to be useful for damage. Now, this one, Sanctification, is good where you've got lots of mobs in your consecration. For raiding, probably not going to happen, so you probably go for the standard every 12 seconds you get Holy Power. The other advantage of every 12 seconds you get a Holy Power is you could use a weak aura and to track it so that you know when it's coming, so that you are particularly, I mean, the trick with using of Dusk and Dawn is you want to cycle. It doesn't have to be that quick. Remember, it lasts for 15 seconds, but within that 15-second period, you want to be able to cycle. Inside 15 seconds, you want there to be a time when you've got 5 Holy Power, and you want there to be a time when you've got 0 Holy Power. Now, if you've got random Holy Power suddenly appearing, that is a bit of a barrier to controlling it, whereas this standard every 12 seconds of Holy Power, which you can track with a weak aura, can help there. In terms of these, now, both of these are actually really good in their own way. So Ashes to Dust means you get this proc, the Art of War proc for your Wake of Ashes, which is incredibly useful, but Radiant Decree is also very nice. It's doing a fair amount of damage. Particularly in an AoE situation, you may want that. So you will take one of them is what I am saying, and you may sort of want to consider which it is for now. So we'll just take that for now. Obviously, you're going to want Crusade. We like Crusade. Going along these, so Zeal. There. Now, at this point, we've got down to this point. I'll just point out here, there's a clear distinction. If you're setting yourself up for single target, you will take Righteous Verdict, of course. If you're setting yourself up for AoE, you'll take Tempest of the Lightbringer. There's no real sensible situation to take both. So whichever you want to set yourself up for. So again, if we're thinking raiding, largely single target, that. But of course, if there's Cleave, Tempest of the Lightbringer, or if you're just thinking trash, whatever, then you will take Tempest. But for now, if we're thinking single target boss, Righteous Verdict. Where are we up to now? Exorcism is actually really good. Again, it's people going, oh, but it doesn't interact with our Holy Power. No, it doesn't. It does a right load of damage. It's like a truck. So Exorcism is quite useful there. Of course, Healing Hands is quite useful. Now, again, at this point, I'd also, you could look at Justicar's Vengeance. Everything's in a bit of a mess. Let me just have a quick look how this is working. Yeah, everything's in a bit of a mess at the moment. Justicar's Vengeance is still doing more damage than a Templar's Verdict. So if things were as they are now when this goes live, and bear in mind this is on the beta, by the way, it may be a bit different. I haven't actually checked it on the PTR. You can often get different builds on the PTR and beta, but I really don't think they're going to let this go to pre-patch with Justicar's Vengeance doing more damage than Templar's Verdict and it healing you. But if they did, you would take Justicar's Vengeance, because then there's no value in apart from but then you wouldn't take that, would you? I mean, that would just be a straight swap. There'd be no point in taking that talent, I guess, because it's significantly different unless you went down the Final Verdict route. But shall we say, assuming that Blizzard are sensible and assuming that that is dealt with for the pre-patch, we don't need to take Justicar's Vengeance. That's what I would say there. Now at this point I need to spend one more. What should we get here? I missed one out. We could have the reduction in that. There's a mastery one, which is a bit, but it might be judgment. 25%. Again, this will depend on sims, I guess. Let's go with that one. We'll go with Seal of Wrath. Why not? An extra little judgment thing there. Now, down at this point, Ashes to Ashes is really good. You know, when you benefit from Art of War, you gain Seraphim again. So, you know, this is why I said before, there's not a lot of value in taking actual Seraphim, because there's several occasions when you're just going to naturally get a Seraphim type ability. So that's fine there. Now, at this point, we'd have 3 more talents to spend. You could take this and Final Verdict. You know, it should be, I would think that should be a decent one to take. That's what I would be thinking in terms of. You don't have to. You may prefer to go down the Final Reckoning stance. So you take Virtuous Command and Final Reckoning. That will work too. I suppose in theory you could go down this one as well, but I don't really like that. So I'm going to go down for this. That's just my personal preference there. But again, you know, that's without knowing exactly what the damage values of these abilities are going to be when it goes live. I said in the last video, I mean, if they keep this the same and Justicar's Vengeance just does more than Templar's Verdict, this is a waste of talent points. You might as well just get rid of that, and get these, and then give yourself that permanently. Why not? But I'm going to assume that they're going to do another little rebalancing check. So that's probably what I would do. That's my view at the moment, and that's my reasoning for the view. Obviously, you may have some flaws in my plan there, but that's what I'd be going along with. But I will just reiterate, if you want the up-to-date information from the theory crafters, the wise sages of the Ret Paladin community, then do make sure you check out Hammer of Wrath on Discord, and they'll give you the most up-to-date information as it goes live. But bear in mind, it's likely to change on a very regular basis, because at the moment things are still broken. Things are still clearly not balanced correctly. The numbers are ridiculous, and that's not necessarily in a good way either at the moment. So yeah, hopefully there will be a change, a different build when it goes live, and that may change some of this reasoning. But I think most of it's probably still fairly static for level 60. But those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting, and until next time, I will see you later.